Hey everyone. Today, let's talk about something you probably don't think about when you get in your car, this invisible shield that's working to protect it from digital threats. We're going to dive into what is basically the global security rulebook for the entire auto industry, ISO/SAE 21434. So, let's get right into it.
So let me just start by asking you a question. Is your car safe from hackers? I mean, really think about it. Our cars are getting smarter and more connected every single year. But how can we be sure that all that tech is actually secure? It's a very real question for pretty much anyone driving a modern car today.
And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? Your car isn't just a simple machine anymore. It is, for all intents and purposes, a powerful computer on wheels. You've got complex software that's controlling everything: your navigation, your music, even your engine and your brakes. And just like any computer, it can be a target.
Which brings us to a really key idea in cybersecurity, the attack surface. It's a simple concept, really. The more connected stuff your car has, the more potential entry points there are for a cyber attack. Every single piece of new tech, well, it adds another potential digital door.
And look, a lot of these features are awesome. I mean, we love them for their convenience, but every single one, from the trip data your car collects to those super handy over-the-air software updates, creates one of those digital doorways that has to be locked down and secured.
Okay, so we've got this growing risk. It's pretty clear. So, what's the auto industry doing about it? Well, that's where our main topic comes in. It's this global security rulebook designed to tackle this exact problem. In plain English, ISO/SAE 21434 is the master plan for car cybersecurity. It's not just a quick fix, it's this huge, holistic approach that covers a car's entire life. I'm talking from the very first sketch on a drawing board all the way to the day it ends up in the scrapyard, the whole shebang.
Now, this next part is super important to understand, the difference between this standard and the actual law. You can think of it like this. UN Regulation 155 is the law. It's the government saying you must make your cars secure, period. Then ISO/SAE 21434 is the how-to guide. It's the giant detailed playbook that shows car makers exactly how to follow that law.
And if you're wondering why we're talking about this right now, well, this timeline says it all. The standard came out in 2021, but the really big deal is that July 2024 deadline. That's when the UN law becomes mandatory in Europe, which, believe me, affects every single global car company that wants to sell their vehicles there. The clock is absolutely ticking.
So we know what it is and why it's so urgent. But how does a standard like this actually make a car safer? Well, it all comes down to a really proactive philosophy, which is a huge shift from how things used to be done.
And this is it. This is the secret sauce, security by design. It basically means you don't build the car and then try to bolt on some security features at the end. No way. Instead, you build cybersecurity into the very foundation of the vehicle. It's part of its DNA from day one. So when we talk about that life cycle, this is what we mean. The standard requires a security-first mindset at every single stage, right from the initial idea through the design and manufacturing, and even continuing to monitor and update the car with secure software patches once it's out on the road with you.
One of the key tools they use for this is something called TARA. That stands for Threat Analysis and Risk Assessment. And what it really boils down to is this. Engineers have to think like a hacker. They have to proactively hunt for weaknesses and patch them before a real attacker ever gets the chance to find them. You got to beat them to the punch.
All right, so that's the theory, and it sounds great, but what happens when the rubber meets the road? Literally. How are car companies actually taking this standard and making it a reality?
Well, success really seems to boil down to these 4 pillars. You need a solid game plan with clear roles. You have to constantly be looking for weak spots. You've got to get everyone involved, suppliers, dealers, you name it, and you have to train your people. It's really about creating a company-wide culture where everyone is thinking about security. But let's be real, this is not a walk in the park. The standard is incredibly complex and takes a huge investment of time and money. And get this. One of the biggest hurdles is that the car manufacturer is held responsible for the security of every single part in that car, even a tiny chip that comes from a third-party supplier. That is a massive responsibility. But here's the big takeaway and why all these companies are pouring so much effort into this. Getting this right isn't just about avoiding a fine. In today's market, having a car that you can prove is secure is a huge selling point. It builds trust. And that trust is becoming just as important to customers as old-school crash test ratings.
So where does all this leave us? What's the road ahead look like? Because the standard isn't just a fix for today's problems. It's really about laying a critical foundation for the future of driving.
I mean, think about where car tech is headed. We're talking about AI-driven features, truly autonomous systems, all this incredible stuff. But those technologies bring even bigger, more complex security challenges. And a standard like ISO/SAE 21434 is the essential groundwork that makes it possible to develop and roll out those innovations safely.
And all of this leaves us with one final, really big question to chew on. This standard puts a huge amount of responsibility on the car maker, for sure. But is it only their problem? As our cars get smarter and more woven into our digital lives, where does their responsibility end and ours as owners begin? It's something we're all going to have to think about as we drive into the future. Thanks for joining me.